Experiencing burnout is not that bad in the larger scheme of things. At least this is what I've learned from my own experience with burnout. On the contrary, it might be the only thing that pushes you in a new direction, and I'll talk about how this can happen in today's video. And of course, it's best to avoid burnout altogether. But life happens. You get sucked into work and responsibilities, and you can end up totally ignoring yourself. And then at some point, you realize that you're in a really bad situation. You're about to break down and need to do something about it. If you're experiencing burnout right now, you just want a way out and get rid of it and be the old you again. The way we were. And I hope that this video can help you to get out of it faster. And if you're not burned out yet but are feeling the symptoms of burnout, you can hopefully avoid it. A disclaimer up front, I am not a psychotherapist or a psychologist. These are all just my own opinions that I have based on my experiences and observations. Burnout is not a medical diagnosis, but it's still a serious and debilitating condition. It is like a medical condition in a way that if ignored, it can spread out to other areas of your life and result in other complications. Actual physical illness, sleeping problems, relationship problems, and even apathy. It's persistent and can feel like a dark hole. Everyone has experienced stress at work and physical or emotional exhaustion, but burnout is much more than just stress and exhaustion. You can be totally exhausted and at the end of your strength, but feel fulfilled and accomplished knowing that you've done the things that you wanted to do. But what makes burnout burnout and what makes it unbearable is the feeling of reduced accomplishment or a loss of personal identity. And that's what makes it feel as though you're working hard for nothing. Your boss and your colleagues might think really highly of you, but you feel that you either haven't accomplished enough or haven't accomplished the things that matter to you. You might also feel disconnected from yourself. You've come to a point where you have an intuition that you're not doing the things you want to do. So, what can you possibly do when you're experiencing burnout? I want to share some insights I have from my own worst experience of burnout about 10 years ago. There are some things that I did that helped me recover from burnout and even turn my whole life around for the better. But before that, if you're finding this video useful so far, it would mean a lot to me if you'd hit the like button. That would help to push this video out to more people, but it would also help to let me know that this was useful to you. I would also love to hear from you, so please share with me your thoughts on burnout in the comments below. The first thing you need to do when experiencing burnout is to pull the brakes. And that can be hard to do when you're busy at work. Yes, you want to stop burning out, but you also want to keep delivering, meeting deadlines at work, especially if you're of the very conscientious type. But by forcing yourself to operate on the same level that led you to burnout, you're not doing anyone a favor. At this point, you're likely high-strung and not performing at your very best. And the longer you keep running at this pace, the worse you'll perform in your job over the long term.
Yeah, I have the memo right here. I just forgot, but it's not shipping out till tomorrow, so there's no problem.
It's time to acknowledge to yourself that you need a break, a time out. Take off a few days or even better a week. And I know that it can be really hard to take leave. Even when you are entitled to a number of vacation days, your workload might make it feel like it's impossible to actually take that leave. But that in itself might have contributed to you experiencing burnout in the first place. So please, take the leave you deserve. Spend the first 1 or 2 days relaxing and just try and center yourself. Then start processing the burnout. There are a number of imbalances that you might need to identify. It could be a work-life imbalance. It could be an imbalance between your workload and your capacity. or it could be between the resources you have at work and the tasks that you have to do. On a deeper level, it might be a severe misalignment between what you're doing at work on a daily basis versus what is really important to you. You might find your work extremely dull, or for whatever reason, immensely annoying, or even face ethical dilemmas at work. That is the worst possible combination. Being extremely exhausted working on things you find pointless. Take some time off and try to find out what the real sources for your burnout are. And don't just stop at surface issues like, I have too much work, because everyone has too much work except for very few people. Rather, find out what bothers you specifically. Get to the bottom of it. It could, for example, be, I'm doing a really good job and I'm super productive, but my boss is piling on more and more projects on me so that there's never an end in sight, and I never feel a sense of accomplishment. What is it specifically in your case that bothers you to the point of experiencing burnout? And then, after you've identified the core sources of your burnout, think about whether these are things worth working on or not. Look at your job and your career overall. Are you in the right career, and is this issue something worth working out? If you think that it's worth working out, then you can start figuring out solutions that make working in your job more sustainable for yourself. If your workload is too high but you actually love your work, it's a good time to have a talk with your boss, who might be more understanding than you'd expected. And if your boss is not willing to compromise on your workload, then perhaps it's time to look for another job. Perhaps you're in the right career but just don't have the right job. You're not at the right company with the right working conditions. On the other hand, after investigating your burnout, you might find that you're not just in the wrong company and the wrong job, but you're also in the wrong career. And this sort of revelation might only come to you after you've experienced burnout. You're pushed to the limit of your patience and energy, and that's when you finally take a moment and find that you've been in the wrong place the whole time. That realization may only take a few seconds, but it feels like a big aha moment. As in, okay, something has to change now. And what happens after this? It really depends much on what you do during these few days on your break. If you don't do anything and just think, all I need is a break, some time at the beach and some drinks, and when I go back to work later, everything will be better, then most likely you'll be back at square one in a month. But if you take this time to honestly pinpoint the things that you have to change, you'll move in a totally new direction. That might be a newfound conviction that you need to move companies in the next 2 months at the latest, or the decision to change your career entirely. The burnout will not suddenly disappear, but it will morph into something that's more benign. Once you know, and once you've decided what you need to do next, you'll get into a healing phase. The burnout is still there, but the symptoms are less severe. Burnout is no longer dominating you, but instead, your new plan is. You finally have hopes for the near future, and change is on the horizon. Experiencing burnout is not that bad, as long as you don't let it linger, and don't let it become a recurring thing. Experiencing burnout gives you the slap in the face needed to change your course.
Snap out of it!
Without this burnout, you might never change your life. You might just hang in there and get used living with burnout, but at some point in the future, it will come back to bite you. Burnout that persists over years and even decades will ultimately manifest in regret. And the worst thing is not experiencing burnout, but letting it exist despite knowing that it's there. Burnout is oftentimes accompanied by a crisis as well. And if you think that you might be experiencing a career crisis, then this video here might help you. Thank you so much guys for watching, and take care.